Hello and welcome to Pondersaur, Words with a Roar. I'm your host, Richard Dahm. Since the beginning of Pondersaur, I have been thinking of building a narrative story based on the characters and ideas. There was this huge passion forming inside me to officially create something from my imagination. After finally finding the time, I started writing. Let me first make something clear before I continue. This is the third fictional story I have ever written in my life. I'm not a writing master or savant. I merely write my narrative story ideas for the sake of passion and learning purposes. If you must know, my first fictional story that I wrote was for a third grade writing assignment. The story was about a snow velociraptor that a boy made on a snow day. The second story I wrote was for a college assignment about a zombie outbreak. To my surprise, both instructors took an instant liking to my narrative design choices, especially my college professor who asked if I would continue writing. I like thinking about fictional ideas for things and expressing them on paper from time to time, but I never particularly saw myself very good at making stories. Therefore, I would like to highlight one specific thing about the Pondersaur story I have written. This story is merely a beta Pondersaur narrative concept. The sole purpose of this fictitious writing is to outline the characters, world, and setting for the Pondersaur community. Please also note the disclaimer notices. All the art that is used within the story is sample work to provide visual aesthetic. In truth, I am not much of an artist, however, that does not mean that I cannot learn to improve. Overall, I hope you enjoy what I have written. Please feel free to leave comments for constructive feedback regarding this story. If you like the first chapter of the Pondersaur story and want more, please feel free to stay updated on the Pondersaur website. A calm and tranquil evening enveloped the lush grassland valley. Chirping and subtle insect noises could be heard nearby that enhanced the peaceful serenity. On a hill, a boy carnivore and his mother sat underneath the twinkling starlit sky. The two of them silently gazed at the sky together until his mother asked with a soft voice, "Alan, what do you want to be when you grow up?" Alan readily answered the question without hesitation. "I want to be a leader." "A leader?" said his mother, startled by his answer. "A leader gets to make decisions and triumphs over all. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want," Alan continued. Alan's mother chuckled very softly and then wrapped her arm around Alan gently. Among all the other carnivores, Alan's mother was graceful and beautiful. She carried herself with a dignified yet subtle sense of sophistication. However, her most elegant feature was none other than her voice. A serene and soothing voice that could put Alan at ease instantly. She pulled Alan a little closer to her and breathed deeply with a smile on her face. Then, with a calm and rational voice, she said, "Alan, being a leader is not a position of power, but of responsibility." She paused for a few moments, then continued, "Your father was a leader of a pack that everyone admired and adored." Alan's mother then raised her head upwards, looking upon the twilight sky with sorrow and happiness. "Your father put everyone before himself and made them happy. To become a leader, Alan, you must first understand that your happiness is in the happiness of others." Alan sat within his mother's arms and listened without moving or making a sound. He was bewildered by his mother's words. The concept was incomprehensible to him. Alan's mother then returned her gaze towards Alan and whispered as gently as she could into his ear, "I know you will one day come to understand the meaning of being a leader, Alan." Suddenly, loud footsteps shot through Alan's ears, startling him awake. The intensity of each step shook the ground beneath Alan. The noise became increasingly louder, Alan could sense that the movement was coming his way. The pounding on the earth eventually came to a stop upon reaching his vicinity. The vivid dream that he was having shattered, leaving Alan to groggily stand up and find an individual in front of him. "Get up," said the voice from the individual sternly and authoritatively. Alan recognized the voice. He knew instantly who was talking to him based on the tone and timbre alone. The voice was none other than his own brother, Torvo. "The leader wants to speak with you," said Torvo with an bored pitch. "What do they want?" Alan replies with an irritated and half-awake reply. Alan is now a young adult carnivore male who exhibits vibrant green scales across his body. However, the color of his abdomen and spine are of a yellowish hue. His matured body now radiates a more definitive, well-built frame and physique. On the other hand, Alan's brother, Torvo, is also a young adult carnivore male that dons bright blue scales and a similar colored yellowish hue in the respective areas as Alan. Both Alan and Torvo can be distinguished as brothers just based on their homogeneous physical attributes and yellowish abdomens. However, the segregating difference is clearly their scale pigment colors. Torvo says nothing else and walks away, ignoring Alan's question altogether. A typical reaction and response from Torvo. Alan has never known Torvo to act any differently. Torvo is very prideful and diligent, but lacks empathy when engaging with others. His one characteristic trait that makes others uncomfortable or even submissive at times. The only exception is Alan, who has become unfazed by Torvo's demeanor. Whenever Alan and Torvo converse, Torvo's mood sours greatly beyond certainty. Alan begins his search for the pack leader, while trying to steadily wake himself up. As he walks around the pack's habitat, the voice of the pack leader begins to increase in volume. The angry shouting and aggressive booming tone of voice was none other than Cord, their pack leader. Alan quickly braces himself as he enters Cord's view. Cord eyes Alan with a sidelong glance, quickly, and then resumes his loud bickering. Cord is a very distinguishable male carnivore amongst the other members of the pack, besides his voice. He is quite brawny and stands taller than most due to his seasoned adult age. However, Cord's most identifiable feature are the scars scattered across his body. Each one is different and more prominent than the last. The ugly detailing shows how much Cord has been through in his life. "You have one whole day to fix this problem. I will not allow an extension. Am I clear?" yells Cord at an unlucky pack member. The unlucky pack member backs away quickly in fright without a word. Cord stiffly gazes at the frightened pack member until they are no longer within the vicinity. In an instant, Cord's steely and menacing glare darts towards Alan. His facial expression contorts to a more serious demeanor than before. "Alan, get over here, now!" roars Cord even louder than before. Alan, with a tinge of fear and anger, begins to walk towards Cord, who looks extremely displeased. As Alan nears Cord's position, a sharp and sudden pain rushes into Alan, and his world seems to have gone upside down. Cord rammed Alan with his hefty body and put him on the ground. Alan became instantly disoriented. After the initial discomfort passing quickly, Alan jerked his eyes open briefly and knew what Cord was setting up. A demonstration. Cord prepared a scene to demonstrate his pack leadership. The shock and intent was effective, as the other pack members began to watch the scene from a distance in silence. Cord then bellows with extreme rage at Alan on the ground. "I asked you to get the pack food before winter sets in. Where is your contribution, Alan?" "I have been looking, Cord," Alan replies weakly as he regains his footing from being on the ground. "Looking?" Cord screams. Where exactly have you been looking? There are pack hunting grounds designated for the entire pack to secure food. Cord moves right next to Alan, not only to express dominance, but his overbearing malice. Alan could feel the pressure, as if Cord was exuding heat from his body. However, the situation did not threaten Alan. Instead, he stood firmly in front of Cord with a calm and rational mindset, ignoring the throbbing physical pain. The fear and anger that Alan had felt before confronting Cord seems to have been transformed into an astute attitude adjustment. Cord could detect Alan's newfound behavior, which triggered the loudest voice he could raise yet. The charged fury from Cord exploded into an enormous roar. I do not want to hear another excuse from you. After I took over for your father, you have been nothing but a slacker. I expect you, out of all the other members of the pack, to uphold the rules. Your brother understands this. Your mother understood this. Why do you not understand this? After Cord asked the last question, there was nothing but silence. No one moved, nor turned away. The air felt heavy and stifling. Alan hesitated to even respond to the question and stood staring at Cord. His courage started to falter within him. Cord could sense that Alan became perplexed by his statement. The opportunity to strike a final command on Alan was now or never. Cord quickly belted out his instructions. I want you to return with food by the end of the day, Cord stated, breaking the silence. After a short pause, he continued, Use the hunting grounds and nothing else. Go! Without saying a word, Alan walked away from the conversation and scene. All the other pack members' eyes were staring at him. Their heads turn and move slowly to match Alan's pace from afar.